On a bright Friday afternoon, November 22nd, 1963, Dallas, Texas was alive with anticipation. Crowds filled the sidewalks, waving flags, smiling, and hoping to catch just a glimpse of the young, charismatic president who had captured the imagination of a nation. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, was traveling in an open-top limousine, accompanied by his wife Jacqueline, Texas Governor John Connally, and Nellie Connally. What was meant to be a routine campaign trip would soon become the most shocking and controversial assassination in modern history. This is the story of the JFK assassination, an event that left a permanent scar on America's heart, fueled countless conspiracy theories, and continues to be debated more than 60 years later. As the motorcade turned onto Elm Street, the sun gleamed off the chrome of the presidential limousine. People cheered, children waved, and cameras captured the hope and optimism of the era. Kennedy, smiling and waving, appeared relaxed, almost unaware of the storm about to strike. At 12:30 p.m., the first shot rang out. Some witnesses thought it was a firecracker. Others believed it was a motorcycle backfiring. But within seconds, the truth became horrifyingly clear. The second shot struck President Kennedy in the upper back. Governor Connally, seated in front of him, later recalled hearing a loud crack, feeling a sharp pain, and seeing blood everywhere. Then came the fatal shot, a devastating bullet to the head that sent shockwaves across Dealey Plaza. The crowd screamed. Jacqueline Kennedy reached toward her husband in panic. Secret Service agent Clint Hill sprinted toward the limousine, climbing onto the back in a desperate attempt to protect the First Lady. In less than 7 seconds, the presidency of John F. Kennedy was over. The world had changed forever. The limousine raced toward Parkland Memorial Hospital, but the damage was irreversible. At 1 p.m., doctors pronounced John F. Kennedy dead. Jacqueline Kennedy, still wearing her blood-stained pink suit, refused to change her clothes. When asked if she wanted to remove it, she responded quietly, "I want them to see what they've done." Back in Dealey Plaza, chaos erupted. Police scrambled for answers. Witnesses pointed toward the Texas School Book Depository, a large brick building overlooking the motorcade route. Officers rushed inside and quickly discovered a rifle on the 6th floor, along with 3 spent bullet casings. The rifle was a 6.5mm Mannlicher Carcano, a cheap, bolt-action weapon considered inaccurate by experts. Beside it, a makeshift sniper's nest made from stacked boxes. Authorities soon identified a potential suspect, a 24-year-old former Marine named Lee Harvey Oswald. He worked in the building, had recently purchased a rifle under a fake name, and had been seen on the 6th floor shortly before the shots were fired. Within an hour, Oswald fled the scene, encountered a police officer named J.D. Tippett, and shot him dead on a Dallas street. That murder sealed Oswald's fate. Police located him in a nearby movie theater and arrested him. But the story only grew stranger from here. Oswald insisted he was innocent. At every opportunity, he claimed he was being framed. "I'm just a patsy," he declared to reporters as he was led through the police station. He denied shooting the president, denied shooting Officer Tippett, and refused to answer most questions. Many believe his calmness suggested he expected protection, or perhaps that he truly wasn't the shooter. 2 days later, while being escorted through the basement of the Dallas police station, Oswald encountered nightclub owner Jack Ruby, and in full view of television cameras, Ruby shot him in the stomach. Oswald collapsed. He was rushed to the same hospital where Kennedy died, and there, less than 48 hours after the assassination, the only official suspect was dead. Ruby's motive remains disputed. He claimed he wanted to spare Jacqueline Kennedy the pain of a trial. Others believed he was connected to organized crime. His sudden appearance and the ease with which he entered the police basement fueled new speculation. Was Oswald silenced? In the days following the assassination, Vice President Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in aboard Air Force One, standing beside a grief-stricken Jacqueline Kennedy. The country was devastated. Radio and television channels suspended regular programming. Newspapers printed headlines in black borders. Schools and businesses closed as America mourned. To provide answers, President Johnson established the Warren Commission, led by Chief Justice Earl Warren. After 10 months of investigation, the commission concluded that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, that he fired 3 shots from the 6th floor, that no conspiracy existed, and that Jack Ruby also acted alone. But not everyone was convinced. The Warren Commission's findings immediately faced skepticism. Many witnesses reported hearing shots from the grassy knoll, a small, elevated area to the right of the motorcade, where several people claimed they saw smoke or a flash of movement. Others argued that the bullet that struck both Kennedy and Connolly, later known as the single bullet theory, was physically impossible, suggesting the presence of multiple shooters. One of the most chilling pieces of evidence was the Zapruder film, a home movie recorded by Abraham Zapruder. The 26-second silent clip captured the assassination frame by frame. When analyzed, it appeared to show Kennedy's head snapping backward, leading many to believe the fatal shot came from the front, not the rear. If Oswald didn't act alone, who else could have wanted Kennedy dead? Some point to the CIA. Kennedy reportedly clashed with intelligence leaders over Cuba, Vietnam, and secret operations. Others suspect the mafia, claiming organized crime bosses sought revenge for Kennedy's crackdown on their networks. Some believe anti-Castro Cuban exiles carried out the attack, angry over Kennedy's handling of the Bay of Pigs invasion. Others accuse Vice President Lyndon Johnson, suggesting he had political motives. Each theory has its own evidence, and each raises unsettling questions. In 1979, the House Select Committee on Assassinations reopened the case. After reviewing new acoustic data and witness statements, the committee concluded there was likely a conspiracy, although the exact parties involved could not be proven. This decision reignited public interest and confirmed what many had believed for decades, that the truth about Kennedy's assassination may never be fully known. Over the years, thousands of documents have been declassified, but many remain hidden or heavily redacted. Even presidents have expressed frustration at the secrecy. The continued withholding of files only fuels suspicion that something deeply troubling lies beneath the official narrative. But beyond the conspiracy debates, one thing is undeniable. The assassination of John F. Kennedy changed America forever. It shattered trust in government. It ignited the modern era of political skepticism. It transformed national security protocols. And it ended the life of a leader whom many saw as a symbol of hope, youth, and ambition. Kennedy's legacy, from his call to put a man on the moon, to his efforts in civil rights, to his warnings about global conflict, continues to resonate. But the haunting images of that day in Dallas continue to overshadow his presidency. Jacqueline Kennedy later described those moments as a nightmare that never ended. She once said she wanted the public to remember the brief shining moment of her husband's administration, what came to be known as Camelot. But for many, the tragedy in Dallas is the image that lingers. More than 6 decades later, people still gather in Dealey Plaza. They stand on the grassy knoll. They look up at the 6th-floor window. They trace the route of the motorcade. And they ask the same question the world has asked since 1963. Who really killed John F. Kennedy? Was it truly the act of one disturbed young man? Or was it part of a larger, hidden conspiracy, one that reached into the darkest corners of government, intelligence, or organized crime? Perhaps the answer lies in a document still locked away. Perhaps it was buried long ago. Or perhaps the truth has always been in front of us. In the conflicting testimonies, the mysterious deaths of witnesses, the inconsistencies in the evidence, and the extraordinary political forces at play. What we know for certain is that the story of JFK's assassination will never end. It continues to fascinate historians, investigators, and everyday people around the world. It invites debate, inspires films, fuels books, and sparks endless discussions. Because John F. Kennedy was more than just a president. He was a symbol of hope, of change, of a new era. And when he fell, something inside the nation fell with him. The world watched in disbelief. Americans cried openly in the streets. Leaders around the globe expressed shock. Television anchors struggled to hold back tears. It was a collective trauma that shaped generations. And in the end, the assassination of John F. Kennedy remains one of the most enduring mysteries of the 20th century. A moment frozen in time, replayed, analyzed, debated, and questioned again and again. A tragedy, a turning point, an unsolved puzzle that refuses to fade. This is the story of that day. The story of a bullet, a nation, and a mystery that still echoes across history. In the years that followed the assassination, America struggled to understand how such a tragedy could occur in broad daylight, in front of hundreds of witnesses, and still leave behind more questions than answers. It was not just the death of a president. It was the death of innocence, the end of a hopeful era, and the beginning of a national obsession with truth, secrecy, and power. Millions of Americans felt a deep sense of betrayal. Not necessarily by a gunman, but by the confusion, the contradictions, and the secrecy that surrounded the entire investigation. Why had vital evidence been mishandled? Why had witnesses been dismissed or ignored? How could the most important murder case in modern history leave so many loose ends? Many eyewitnesses reported seeing men behind the fence on the grassy knoll. Others spoke of hearing 4 shots instead of 3. Some claimed to see smoke drifting from the knoll area. Smoke the official report insisted was impossible. Even more mysterious was the number of witnesses who later died under unusual circumstances, leading some to believe that key voices were silenced before they could come forward. Autopsy photos and X-rays became the center of debate. Doctors who treated Kennedy at Parkland Hospital gave descriptions of his wounds that conflicted with the official autopsy performed later in Washington. Some researchers argued that the president's body may have been altered before the autopsy, a claim as disturbing as it is controversial. Then there was the strange behavior of government agencies. The CIA, FBI, Secret Service, and military intelligence all withheld information, destroyed documents, and provided inconsistent statements. Files about Oswald's activities in Mexico City, his connections to Cuba, and his suspicious travels overseas remained classified for decades. Every few years, new documents would be released, some revealing shocking details, others heavily blacked out. Entire pages would appear as nothing but solid ink, hiding whatever truth lay beneath. It seemed as if the government was protecting not just national security, but perhaps itself. As time passed, investigators, journalists, and amateur researchers, known as JFK sleuths, began dedicating their lives to uncovering the truth. Some believed Oswald was manipulated by intelligence agencies. Others argued that the mafia orchestrated the hit. Still others claimed Kennedy's plans to withdraw from Vietnam, control the CIA, or expose Cold War secrets made him a target. Hollywood entered the debate as well. Movies, documentaries, and television specials renewed public interest. The release of Oliver Stone's film JFK in 1991 reignited controversy and pressured the U.S. Congress to pass the JFK Records Act, leading to the release of thousands of new documents. Yet even then, many files remained hidden. The deeper researchers dug, the more tangled the web became. Each answer raised new questions. Each clue led to new theories. And with every revelation, the line between truth and speculation blurred. But beyond the conspiracies and unanswered questions, the emotional impact of Kennedy's death continued to echo across generations. Many Americans still remember exactly where they were when the news came. For them, time seemed to freeze. Schools closed early. Church bells rang across the country. Television networks broadcast the tragedy nonstop. It was one of the first moments in history when the entire world watched a national trauma unfold in real time. The funeral, held in Washington, D.C., was a somber display of unity and grief. Millions lined the streets as Kennedy's flag-draped casket moved through the Capitol. Jacqueline Kennedy walked with quiet strength, her children by her side. John F. Kennedy Jr., only 3 years old, famously saluted his father, a heartbreaking image that became one of the most iconic photographs of the century. World leaders attended the ceremony in an unprecedented show of respect. Even nations hostile to the United States sent condolences. For a moment, hatred and politics were set aside as the world mourned a fallen leader. Yet even in this moment of global unity, the shadow of mystery lingered. Rumors, questions, and doubts did not fade, they only grew stronger. And so, the legacy of Kennedy's assassination is not just a story about bullets or conspiracies. It is a story about a nation confronted with the fragility of truth. A nation forced to question its leaders, its institutions, and even its sense of reality. It is a story about how one tragic moment can alter the course of history, shaping politics, culture, and public trust for generations to come. More than 60 years have passed, but the fascination has never died. Researchers still gather at Dealey Plaza every year. New theories still appear. New documents still emerge. And the world still debates what truly happened on that fateful November day. Because the assassination of John F. Kennedy was not just the end of a presidency. It was the beginning of an enduring mystery, a puzzle with missing pieces, a wound that refuses to close, and a question that echoes endlessly through time. Was the truth hidden, or was it lost forever? What remains is a story that continues to haunt the American soul. A story of power, secrecy, tragedy, and the unrelenting human search for answers. This is the extended story of that day. The The story of a bullet, a nation, and a mystery that still echoes across history, and will continue to echo for as long as people seek the truth.